Hi everybody and welcome to All Creatures Animal Hospital Puppy Class. My name is Gabby. So I have another PowerPoint for you today, and I do want to just say if you do comment, it's not that I'm ignoring you. I just can't see the comments when I'm doing the PowerPoint. But I do appreciate your guys' feedback and your comments. I really appreciate people engaging in our little topics. But today we're going to be talking about puppy toys. So I've had a comment come up a lot, about like what toys are good and if, there are certain brands that are better than others, or should, these toys be available for your puppy? Is it something you should get? They're good or bad? So I thought I'd do a PowerPoint on it today just to talk about, because I know it can be very overwhelming, along with a lot of other things, all the options that there are out there. So we're going to talk about toys and just some different toys I recommend, and toys that, are good to have on hand, especially for our teething babies. So again, welcome to the All Creatures Hospital Puppy Class. My name is Gabby. I'm one of the vet assistants at All Creatures, and I've been working there for coming up on 7 years in February, and I've been doing the puppy class for almost 6 years now. So I love it. I love being able to just teach different topics and just help people, because I know that the whole process of having a new puppy at home can be very overwhelming. So I love being able to help and just giving little tips and tricks. So we're going to start talking about what are the best toys. So there's a few that I'm listing. I'm not going to say that, these are the only toy options. You obviously have different brands. There's so many brands, but I just like these brands. They're ones that I have used with my growing puppy when my Great Dane was around, to just experiencing them with other puppies at the clinic and through our puppy classes. So I'm just going to go through a few of these toys. So the best thing that you can do is to have plenty of toys to give mental challenges. So, it really helps with getting some of that energy out, which you wouldn't think. You'd think, oh, running around the block, and getting all that energy out, having them run full force is going to make them tired. But toys that are actual like puzzles or things that they have to work on can actually be just as exhausting as running around. So they're great to have, especially if you need, if you're working at home right now. It's great to have these toys available to just kind of distract them and keep them occupied and busy for a little bit, so that you can do your work at home if you're working from home, do chores around the house, cook dinner, keep them busy in their crate, if you have to step out for a little bit. So these are really all great brands. So Busy Buddy is a great brand, and they have them all over. You can get them on Chewy. They're just Busy Buddy puzzle toys, if I can speak. And if you can see my little cursor, it's these purple toys over here. So there's one that kind of looks like a ball open, maybe like a little saucer. And they have some kibble in there, so you can put some treats in there, and they actually have to roll it around and work to get those treats out, which keeps them busy, because it's not like it's just easy for them to access. When you screw, it looks like the top back on, they have to kind of work to get those treats out. And then there's another purple bottle down here, and same concept. You'll put treats in there, and they have to roll it around and work for those treats to slip out around where the top is, where this little ball and rope is. Plus they can chew on the rope, they can chew on the little ball part. So puzzle toys are great, especially for our working dogs or our bigger dogs. So like border collies, even our poodle mixes, standard poodles, or if you have a Bernedoodle, or, a Shih Poo or anything like that. The poodle and them, they're very intelligent dogs, so they do need a lot of work, as far as like keeping them busy, and doing toys that kind of make them work a little bit. So Busy Buddy toys are great. You can find other brands of puzzle toys too, which are great alternatives if you don't want to do the Busy Buddy, or you happen to get another puzzle toy. I just think any kind of puzzle toy is great to have to keep them busy. We're going to go over here to Kongs. I think Kongs are great. They are a little more expensive, but I personally like them because I feel like they really last for a good amount of time. You know, you can do some toys, especially for our little guys, like our little Malteses or Yorkies. You know, you can definitely get, you know, toys that maybe aren't as durable because their teeth are definitely not as strong as our Great Danes or German Shepherds or Huskies. But Kongs, you know, they come in all shapes and sizes, but I just think you get a little more value. They last longer. So they do have, you know, it's not just these cones. They have tons of different toys, which I have some pictures. But they're just great. They last a really long time, and they're meant, you know, to be durable for really heavy chewers, for our dogs that are heavy chewers. But Kong toys, these cones are great. We're going to talk about some things that we can put inside these little cones that will keep these guys busy too, but they're great for chewing and just to play with. They also have one of these. It's a little ball, so same concept as the cone here, but it's just a different shape, so you can get some, you know, a couple different kinds to just kind of make it feel like you're switching it up. Nylabones are another great one. The only thing about Nylabones is some of them are very easy for your pups to break into little pieces. So if your puppy is notorious for chewing and destroying toys and chewing them into little bits, there are some Nylabones that are edible, and then there's some that aren't. But if your puppy is good at chewing little pieces and breaking apart toys easily, I would recommend not to do Nylabones. But if your dog is gentle and a pretty soft chewer and doesn't, you know, get little pieces off, then, you know, Nylabones are fine. But they're another alternative. One thing I like to do to kind of give it some flavor is you can actually put these into like a boiling water of no added sodium, like chicken broth, and just kind of let it sit in there and soak, and then even freeze them, and it gives them, you know, a little bit of flavor. Because at this age, you know, especially with our puppies that are young, when they're, you know, 9, 12 weeks, we're teaching them how to play with toys. So it's just like a baby, you know, when you give them toys for the first time, they have no idea what to do. You have to push the buttons, get them to understand, associate that there's noises that comes out, that the toys do things. So it's the same thing for these guys. So we have to teach them and kind of, you know, encourage them and entice them to play with these things. So boiling, you know, these Nylabones for a few minutes in some low sodium or no sodium added chicken broth, just to give it that chicken flavor, is really great. And you can even put them in the freezer afterwards so that they're cold, because that will really help soothe their gums when they're going through that heavy teething phase. And then rope toys I have pictured on the next page, but rope toys are great to have as well. To have them, you know, chewing on, and really helps again with those gums when they're going through that teething phase too, and to help wiggle those teeth out. So more on these toys. I just have some more pictures. So I was talking about other alternatives for Kongs. This is a Kong little bunny rope stuffed animal toy. I love too, because some of the Kong toys, and there's other toys out there that are like stuffed animals but have no stuffing in them, which is great, so that if your dog is a really heavy chewer and happens to chew and get the stuffing out, you know, there is no stuffing in these toys, so it's less of a mess for you to clean up, plus it's safe for your baby because they're not eating the stuffing inside. There's some rope alternatives, so you can see all sorts of options for ropes that you can get them to have, you know, to play with and to chew on. And then there's a holy roller down here, which is cool because you can put kind of bigger treats in there. And it's the same concept as the puzzle toys. They have to move it around and kind of work to get the treats out. And then you can see here there's a little chart that I thought was cool with the Kong toys. So they have the Kong puppy ones. They have different sizes. So they have extra small for our really tiny puppies, and then large ones. And then they have ones that are for seniors that aren't as hard. They have the regular classic Kongs, and then they even have the extreme ones for our really power chewers. So, you know, there's lots of different alternatives. They have different shapes, things like that. So I just think those are some great brands and just different alternatives for them to have available. So how to make these toys fun and for them to actually be occupied with playing with these toys. So there's some best treats to put in the toys. So you can just use your puppy's kibble and or wet food. So going back to the Kong here, you can actually mix your puppy's normal kibble and wet food and mix some in there and actually stuff this little Kong cone and freeze it. And I think freezing it is awesome because it makes it last longer, and they actually have to lick the wet food and defrost it with their tongue. So we'll keep it keep them occupied longer than versus if it's just room temperature, they might get it out a lot quicker. And you can also even do kibble mixed with peanut butter. Now, going back, I do state, make sure it's a natural peanut butter. They have this Kong Easy Whiz peanut butter. I always just use natural, like Jif, Skippy, whatever I have at home, but just make sure that there's no xylitol in your peanut butter, because there are some like sugar-free peanut butters that are meant for people that are diabetic that have xylitol, and that is toxic to dogs. So make sure it's just peanuts and salt in it. You can use some cheese, which is great, but again, once they get into, adult phase, once they get out of this puppy phase, peanut butter and cheese are a lot of calories. So, if you can mix in, their kibble and wet food and kind of have that in there and do some peanut butter here and there, that's great. You can actually also put some peanut butter on the rope toy. So right in between the creases of the rope toy, you can put just a little bit of peanut butter or even just a little bit of smudge of the wet food to give it some flavor. Kind of same concept as why we soak the Nylabone in like chicken broth, putting some food or a little bit of peanut butter on the rope toy just to give it a scent and some flavor will make them, entice them to chew on that more too. And then also you can put in some small favorite treats. So you could break up little pieces of like puppy jerky if you have that, or little cookies that they have if there's a favorite treat that they like. You can add those and mix those as well. So it's just supposed to be a fun treat to keep them busy. I do highly recommend, watching them when they have these treats. So you can give them the Kong and maybe with just plain wet food and freeze that, to keep them occupied if they're going to be in their crate for a little bit. Or again, like when you're doing chores and stuff around the house. But just kind of keep an eye on them first and see how they react with the toys before you leave them alone, because we definitely don't want to stress about any kind of, potential choking hazard if they are, a heavy chewer and you don't realize it and they end up destroying the toy or ripping it into pieces. I'd rather be safe than sorry. So, just kind of feel it out, see how they react to the toys, how they do, and if you, feel comfortable, then you can leave like a Kong or something in there with them when when you have to run an errand out of the house and you're not home. So another thing I love is rawhides. So there's a lot of mixed reviews, and in the field, I've been in the veterinary field for almost 7 years now, and I've never had any kind of emergency situation where it involved a rawhide. More than anything, it involved, eating stuffing out of a toy or other weird things that you would never think a dog eats, but nothing ever correlated with a rawhide. And Dr. Mike at our clinic and Dr. Linda don't have any problems with the rawhides either. It's a great thing for our teethers and especially our bigger dogs. I love them for that. When I had my Great Dane teething, it, definitely left some bruises as he got bigger and his teeth got bigger. So rawhides were a lifesaver for me, and you can get big bags of these rawhides, at Costco, Sam's, so that's a great money saver, but you can also get them on Chewy, PetSmart, things like that. I showed a picture. I like these regular, just white rolled rawhides. So it's literally skin that's dried out and then rolled for dogs to chew on. It is easily digestible, so as they chew on it, it will get softer, so they're able to break off little pieces and digest it normally, so it won't cause any issues. Now, there are always dogs that are sensitive to it, so again, be aware, watch your dog while they're chewing on the rawhide. But the biggest issue is typically that you don't get the right size for your pet. So I put on here, make sure you have the appropriate size. They have ones for different sizes of dogs. So you're not going to give your 80-pound, golden retriever, German shepherd, a rawhide that's suited for a 2-pound Yorkie, because they're just going to eat it real quick like a cookie, and that's when you're going to have an issue where it gets lodged or stuck somewhere, and it becomes an emergency situation. So just make sure you're doing the appropriate size. If you have questions or you're concerned or you want us to look at it, when you come in for your next visit, you can bring the rawhides with you and we can look at the size and tell you if we feel it's appropriate or if you need to go bigger or smaller. But I think these are great. They're a great alternative. I wouldn't go crazy with giving them, obviously tons of these a day, but to have these, once a week, once every other day, depending on how quickly your pet goes through them, I think they're great. They also help with dental health, so as they get older, for our dogs that are chewing on this, it helps break that plaque and tartar off their teeth, so this can actually, create better health care or dental care for your pup as well, and push that dental cleaning off, for further down the road, which is great. They do also have these. This is a Verbac brand. We have these in the clinic for sale, as well as they have them at PetSmart and Petco and online. But these ones have an actual enzymatic coating on them that helps, again, with dental tartar and plaque. So these are actually flat chips versus a rolled, and you can see that they have like a petite size for the smaller dogs, and then they have like the larger ones for the bigger dogs. But these are great as well. They're a little more expensive, but these are great too. So it's good to start introducing them to get through that teething phase, and then also it will work into regular dental care too, especially if you feel like you're not on top of brushing teeth, things like that. So I do love rawhides. I never had a problem with it. My Great Dane was always great with it, and it just kept him occupied for a really good amount of time. And sometimes you will see these guys will just go crazy. They'll continually chew. Sometimes you will notice a little bit of pink because they'll make their gums bleed, and at that point it's just time, to take the rawhide away and let them have a break because they're just chewing, so intensely. But other than that, I just think they're great. They can digest them, and it's just another good alternative for, something for them to chew on. So some things that I don't recommend. So again, we talked about toys that are going to tear, break apart, start losing fluff, throw them away, because that is a big concern for foreign body if they end up eating some of this stuffing, and they're not able to digest it properly. So definitely want to make sure that, we're not hanging on to toys until their last leg. So just be mindful of that. Deer antlers, I'm very leery about. Some people give them to dogs and have, no issues, but they are like giving your dog a rock to chew on, and they don't digest, they don't soften in any way, shape, or form. So there is definitely a fear for your dog, fracturing or breaking a tooth off, or splintering it in any way that they could get a little piece that wouldn't be digestible, that could cause harm. Same with hooves, they're very hard, so if you've gotten them or you've had them and you've had no issues, that's great. It's just something to be mindful for, but I would definitely go with a rawhide over, an antler or the hooves. Pig ears are fine. They just have a very unique odor. So that and bully sticks are, fine if you choose to go with those. But I just, they have a weird odor, so I wouldn't go for those personally. But that's up to you if you want to. If your dog loves them and you don't mind them, then that's perfectly fine. But just like with any toy, you always want to be aware and make sure your dog, some dogs are very aggressive when it comes to their bones, and they'll chew everything up and take big bites and swallow before they even get the chance to process it versus some of our other dogs that are a little more delicate and take their time and get little bits and pieces. So same as humans. So just be mindful with whatever toy you give, that you're watching your dog and just kind of seeing how they react and how they play with their toys or their bones, to make sure that we're giving them the safest thing to play with, to not put them in any kind of harm's way. And then, when it does come to rawhides, I didn't talk about that. There are some that are dyed, different colors. You can do that. I like the ones without dye. You do have to be mindful that if they do have any kind of dye, like sometimes I think they have them with Christmas colors, things like that, they can stain carpet or fabric. So just be mindful, if you do happen to give it to your pup, maybe give it somewhere that is not going to be, where they can stain different things in the house. So just to be mindful of that. But again, just as far as toys, I'll go back. So, just have lots of toys available, switch them out, but puzzle toys are definitely great to keep these guys occupied, again, with the Kongs. Nylabones, again, are great, rope toys, so just have lots of things available at all times. I think that's the best thing I can recommend. Help them get through that teething phase. They go from the teething phase from roughly about, 10 weeks of age up until they're about 6 months old. So, it just kind of changes with how fast they get their teeth in, how fast they come out. You may never see them lose teeth. A lot of the time, puppies do end up swallowing their teeth. That's completely normal. You may notice a little blood on some toys because they're working those teeth out. But, this will definitely help with redirecting and giving that kind of positive reinforcement to make sure these guys are busy, and have something to play and keep their mind busy, especially when we're all trying to work from home, and getting things done around the house. So I just kind of wanted to go over some different toys with you guys today, and hopefully this answers your question or reassures you with some of the toys that you have at home. But if you do have any other questions or concerns, you can definitely let us know. Either comment on the video today, or you can reach out to us at the clinic. And again, my name is Gabby, and you can ask for me, and I can go over any kind of questions that you may have with any other toys that you're potentially wanting to get or have for your puppy. But that is all I have for today. So I hope you guys have a great weekend, and we will see you next weekend with another great